What you want, when you want it, where you want it. This is The Mesh.
Footcandle Films. Film news and reviews from two guys who really like movies.
This episode is brought to you by the Footcandle Film Society. For a schedule of upcoming screenings and membership information, visit the Society's website at www.footcandle.org.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Footcandle Films here on the Mesh.tv podcast network. My name is Alan Jackson. With me, not across the table, but across the internet computer screen, is Chris Fry. Also, we both with the Footcandle Film Society, the Footcandle Film Festival, and here the co-host of the Footcandle Films podcast. Chris, how are you doing? Are you staying warm and dry?
I am staying warm, dry. We survived the winter weather that was coming our way, and it acted like it was going to knock out all power in North Carolina. But thankfully, my house still has power. The roads are slowly getting scraped. So, yes, it was a little inconvenient, but thankfully nothing more. So,
yeah, that's about where it is here too. So I know we are in. we say we're in neighboring cities, but I mean, really, they're basically part of the same big area here around us. Yeah, the snow and the ice was, I don't think quite as bad as we were expecting it to be. I personally don't feel like it.
Sure.
I think we'll be back on the roads probably within the next day or so, which is kind of nice. But for today, we are homebound and recording this remotely away from our luxurious studios. We're here in our home studio setups, and we'll make it work. It'll be great. It'll be good. So, but I'll tell you what did happen because of snow and ice over the weekend is it did allow me a chance to sit down and watch the movie we're going to be reviewing, which is good because it was long. It was a long movie, longer than I expected. And I'm glad I had time at home to watch it. But that's what we're going to be doing in today's show is reviewing the film, The Secret Agent. That'll be one that's it's nominated for some Academy Awards, which is what we'll also be discussing after our review is some of the Academy Award nominations. We'll be recapping those, talking through some of our thoughts on some of the bigger categories and some of the surprises of those nominations. And then we're going to finish up the show with Chris giving us a recommendation of a film that he would like to share with us, one that he thinks is worth us checking out and spending our time on if we were to get snowed back in again and needed something to watch on an ice-filled weekend. But Chris, I think that's where we are. I'm kind of keeping an eye out around my room to make sure I'm not going to get attacked by cats that have infiltrated my house over the last few months. We now are up to 3 cats, which I'm not happy about, but it's where we are. And they have a tendency to kind of want to attack me a little bit when I'm in the room here. So I'm just
they love you, Alan. They love you, Alan. They want you to know.
Blocked these are things I don't have to deal with in the studio, which is what's kind of nice. So we're making do with our setups here at our homes. But are you ready to get into our main review of The Secret Agent?
Let's do it.
All right.
Essa é a pessoa. Eu quero buraco na boca.
O teu caso é o que eu mais quero resolver.
Tem matador me procurando? É isso que você está dizendo?
Tem.
Você acha que você devia estar aqui mesmo? Eu vou levar meu filho.
Olha, é uma sacanagem, um grau. Você tem que estar sexta-feira cedinho lá.
Que ele é Armando.
Não, o nome dele é Marcelo.
Armando?
The Secret Agent, written and directed by Keber Mendoza Filho, is about a kind of a Portuguese take on James Bond, where it's like lots of gunplay. And no, The Secret Agent is not that, which we'll get into that maybe about why they maybe titled the movie the way they did. But instead, it takes place in Brazil in 1977. And there's a technology expert that is fleeing a mysterious past. He returns to his hometown of Recife in search of peace. He soon realizes that the city is far from being the refuge he seeks. Now, the technology expert that is fleeing his mysterious past is Cannes-winning actor. I just lost his name too. Alan, help me out. What's his name?
Hold on.
Oh, this is terrible. That's what we get when we're recording at home.
Completely. Yeah.
Wagner,
see there
Wagner
again.
Mora.
Wagner Mora.
Okay.
See, when we don't have our interns and our production staff and all of our team of professionals around us, everything just falls apart. All right. Yeah.
So Wagner Mora, he won at Cannes for Best Actor. He won a Golden Globe for Best Actor. And now he has also been nominated for the Best Actor for his role in The Secret Agent. Also, the film is up, which we'll talk about later. It is up for Best International Film and Best Picture as well. So, Alan, considering all of that, you already kind of alluded to the 2 hour and 41 minute runtime of The Secret Agent. What'd you think of the film?
So I did like this film, but it's challenging. It is a challenging film. And I'll tell you, it's challenging because the plot and the characters involved, the film, to its credit, but yet ultimately I think it does hurt your viewing experience. It doesn't feel the need to walk you through every element of this plot and every element of every character we're meeting. A lot of it just happens and it's kind of thrown at you and you're piled on with many, many characters. I mean, Chris, even the movie poster, I don't know if you're looking at the movie poster
I've seen it
available.
I've seen it. Yeah.
It is nothing but like 30 faces of people. It's like, yes, you meet all 30 of them. And I could tell you maybe the role that half of them play in the film. The other half,
Sure.
I'm still not quite clear. It's not that the plot is convoluted or tough. It's just, it's so not feeding anything to you in delivering that plot. It is really just you're going along for the ride. You're being introduced to a lot of other characters that all have different roles to play in this story. Some of them very similar to other characters you met. I mean, we have a corrupt government, entity and body, government officials, but then we also have some shady police officers, and they're very similar and they have similar motives. And it's just a lot going on. Now, to the film's credit, I like the fact that it's not spoon feeding me along the way. And I do kind of like figuring things out. I like the fact that we get about halfway through the film before we start to realize what it is that our main character is on the run from. It's right. And that's done through some nice use of flashbacks and some nice use of stories within stories, which I think the film does really well. It's a very, very dense film that, honestly, it took me at the end of the film going and reading a synopsis of the film to make sure I really understood what all was happening.
Sure.
So that is to the film's detriment. I think that does hurt the enjoyment of the film. And ultimately it makes it hard for me to really give this a huge recommendation, because I just think it's a tough watch. That being said, I do think this film has some really great performances, some really great set pieces. I think the production design, the overall look and feel of the film is really great. And I like what the film is doing. I just have issue with the way it decided to tell us the story it's telling. That's my overall summary on it. So Chris, what's your thoughts on The Secret Agent?
So I got to see this film for the first time, maybe back in late November, mid-December. And it was before a lot of, I guess, acclaim. It was definitely before he won the Golden Globe, but after obviously Cannes, because I haven't made it to Cannes yet, maybe one day. And I thought it was well made, but I was ultimately really, really confused as far as what's going on, to touch on what you were saying. I did have the benefit. I remember having seen some documentaries in the past about the political situation in Brazil, how a lot of people were made to disappear and things like. So I was like, okay, I kind of got a sense of like, okay, I think that's where this, basically is what this film's talking about. But still, and maybe if I was more familiar with Brazil, or I was, lived in Brazil or something, I wouldn't need some of the textual details that, I guess spoon fed to me because I would already know them. But yeah, being an American audience member watching this, it was challenging. But like you say, just the sheer talent behind the camera and the writing of, coming up with this idea and telling it this way, it kept me engaged. The lead performance, I think I could appreciate it more if I wasn't distracted by everything else going on, because I was struggling just to keep up.
Well,
and for subtitles too, I felt like a lot of times they were, it's not a fault of the film, it's just how it had to be. I was doing a lot of reading kind of rapidly and not being at all familiar with Portuguese. I know Spanish, I don't know Portuguese. So it was like, I really had to rely solely on the subtitles. Otherwise I was completely lost. So it was challenging. It's a worthwhile view for folks, I feel like, but it would be a tough recommendation because I don't know that people, it's like, you and I've definitely used the term in the past, cinematic vegetables. It's like, okay, part of a balanced cinema diet, you eat your vegetables, but you also can have fun with other things. And I feel like this falls into that category because it's some heavy lifting on the part of the viewer. And it's not the fault of the director, it's just kind of how it can shake out.
Well, I think you hit on something important. I do think we're unfortunately at a little bit of a disadvantage in watching and reviewing this film, not being as versed in history of Brazil in the time in the 70s. I mean, again, like you, I knew a very cursory level of maybe what was going on, but I do think this is a film that you probably could appreciate more if you had a little more knowledge of that time period. And obviously the language barrier, which is, foreign language, we're left with having to read the screens, which allows us to miss what may be happening on the screen when we're reading. It's always challenging. It makes it challenging for us as an audience. This film, I think, unfortunately, just compounds on all of that because it relies on a lot of background knowledge of the time period and the location. And with so many characters, so many different names, so many different things happening, it's a lot to keep up with. From that standpoint, would this be a much easier take if you were from that native country and you knew the history? Absolutely. I think this would be an amazing film. And again, I do think it's an amazing film. It's a tough one for us to be able to appreciate and watch, unfortunately, just the nature of foreign language films in this situation. I will say though that even though you could say the film is fairly straightforward with regards to the plot, with some exceptions.
Right.
I do think it takes a few chances with its storytelling process of using flashbacks and using stories within stories to do that. And there's even a point where even one of the characters says, wait a minute, I'm telling this story out of order. And it's like, okay, so it's intentionally, it knows what it's doing. It is telling you or the order of the story it wants to for the most effect of the film. But there's also some, I'm just going to say, I'm still processing exactly the role and purpose of a severed leg in the film.
Okay.
There is a whole subplot with a severed leg found inside of a shark. I understand the shark motif. I understand the shark's role that plays later in the film.
Jaws, one of your favorite films, Alan.
Absolutely. I get it. So I get that.
Yeah.
But the leg itself plays a much bigger role and is actually the severed leg is involved in many of the characters' subplots. It weaves in and even becomes the star of a little mini short film in the middle of the film that was great. It was bizarre. I loved it, but I'm not quite clear on the impact to take from it. So I like that the film threw something out there that was just very unexpected and did not fit the rest of the film in any way, shape, or form, but kind of broke up the flow of what we were seeing for 2.5 hours. And I like that. So Chris, did you have any thoughts on the severed leg?
Yeah, on the severed leg and actually some of the nonlinear aspects of the story. Those are two big, I think, things to discuss. Let's jump to the nonlinear.
Mm-hmm.
For there are scenes there are flashbacks, but then there are also, I guess you would call them flash forwards, and that is jarring, I feel like. However, if you are an audience that is in Brazil and watching this, probably not as jarring to you, and probably helps keep the movie more interesting to you because you already know some of the history and you may have seen similar films in the past that deal with this period in the 70s. So this would help make it more unusual and engaging.
Mm-hmm.
So on my second viewing, it made a little bit more sense, especially because I knew where the film was going to end up. Still, I think for me, with my background and everything, it probably would have made the film more enjoyable to watch it in a linear fashion, or not do any of the jump forwards, just progress forward, and maybe the flashbacks, but both flashbacks and flash forwards made it too much. So I'll say that. Now, the severed leg.
The severed leg.
The severed or hairy leg, which
yes,
happens to be
leg.
severed. My first time through watching it, that served as a kick in the pants from the severed leg to me, the viewer, kind of like, hey, wake up. It was a little bit of some humor, which this film, it's very serious subject matter about people being sought after because of their political dissidence and all that, very, serious film, but that provided a little bit of levity, and it kind of woke me up. But other than that, I was kind of confused. Now, after seeing it a second time and processing a little more, I think it serves as basically the hairy leg was something that was in the film, but it was used by the media and by the government as a distraction.
Right.
And because some of the dissidents sit around afterwards and they're reading the paper, like, what, we've got all this serious stuff going on, and what are they focusing on? Kind of like they're making a National Enquirer type story the center of what everybody's talking about.
Yeah.
And instead, there's a whole lot of other stuff going on that they really should be focusing on. So the second time it was kind of like, it served that. For me, it kind of clarified a little more instead of just being like some bizarre thing of this leg going around kicking people in a park. But still, it was an interesting wake-up call to me, the American viewer, the first time around. The second time, it made a little bit more sense, I guess.
Okay. No, I believe me, I liked it. I liked the intrigue of just trying to kind of piece together where the leg was going and what role it was playing at the time.
Right.
And you're right. I think that ultimately is a distraction. Something that we may be all experiencing a little bit in our own news world these days, is the notion of distractions, things that are going to try to take away attention from other things by, let's throw something else out there, and more public enticing, more juicier story. And this one being obviously pretty incredible story of the leg found inside of the shark. So yeah, those moments and the fact that we're introduced to that little interesting subplot pretty early on, and a pretty kind of graphic, shocking scene that I did not expect, kind of fishing out of, very much the Jaws motif is very prominent throughout there, and becomes actually, the movie itself becomes a pretty interesting part of the plot later in the film as well. You mentioned go ahead.
I was going to ask you, we don't want to spoil anything with the film. The last segment that does flash forward a little bit.
Yeah.
And kind of, there's a discussion between a journalist who's been doing some, studying at college. I think she's trained to be a journalist. Yeah. And she's done some research, and she tracks down somebody, and they have this conversation about what happened back in the 70s. And on one hand, I have to applaud the film because, again, I've had the benefit of watching it twice. The first time I thought it was interesting. I was kind of like, that's a really odd way to end it. And then the second time I still felt that way. However, something about, in a sense, it's very true to life in that it was kind of unsatisfying, because it's kind of
Mhm.
like, that once they meet and they talk and they're, but it's kind of like, yeah, I don't really have anything more to say. I'm sorry. This was kind of a letdown,
Yeah.
but what is past and the world has moved on. And there's some
Yes.
interesting connotations about where
Well,
this
that
individual is located and
yeah.
everything. But it's kind of like,
I think that's what I got from it too. Even just the comment of, I'm sorry, I don't have more to say, but you kind of get the impression, yeah, we've all just kind of moved on and hadn't really dwelled on it. We haven't really spent much time thinking about it. And I think that's important. I think that
Sure.
was, I think overall the ending, the whole ending, I mean, even before that flash forward ending,
Okay.
the ending of the actual story
Sure.
is also strangely unsatisfying, and I think designed to be that way. If you think about it, there is a death that happens in the film. I'm just
Yes.
going to say it's a death inside of a barbershop
Yes.
of a character that we don't really spend a lot of time with.
Nope.
Don't really know a lot about.
Nope.
That gets treated with more reverence and more pomp and around it than a very major character death that happens very nonchalantly and kind of mentioned in passing.
Yes.
That, and it's like, wow, okay, yeah, that was interesting choices there. And I think that also is kind of saying, yeah, the stuff is not clean. It's like the heroes aren't always the ones that get all the attention. They're not, it doesn't always play out the way that you think it would in a movie. And I like that a lot. It got me thinking a lot about the ending and the way they've decided to portray the end of some of these characters' paths. And I just thought it was really interesting. So I did like that quite a bit. The fact that it was so unexpected in the way and the places it decided to focus in on certain characters and the end of their story, when didn't seem like as a viewer that's all anything at all that we were wanting or looking for. So
yeah, and I appreciate too is setting the film, trying to give you. I felt like we talked about how I'm not really familiar with Brazil as a country or with a lot of their history, but I really felt like I'd spent some time in Brazil because it felt
Mhm.
very authentic. The cars
Yes.
were period,
Mhm.
the type of TV shows they were watching. And they set it during Carnival, which is where they have this big festival out in the streets. And that, I felt like I'd been kind of immersed in the world of 1970s Brazil, which I appreciate. I think, that was a strong point of the film for me.
Agreed. So ultimately, I am positive on the film. It's not one that I'm going to recommend lightly to anyone because I do think it's a heavy, heavy lift of a film. And I could see most people coming out of this, and rightfully so, frustrated, not quite clear what was going on, not really getting from the film what they were looking for. And I get it because that's kind of where I was.
Sure.
But I was willing to give it a little more time and kind of recapping my thoughts afterwards and doing a little reassessment of the plot and just making sure I understood. I did find myself actually kind of wanting to go back to it now and see some parts again, which I think is a good sign of a film. So I do like it. It's a tough watch. And I think the choices they made and the way they decided to roll the plot out, share the story, and the sheer amount of characters to bring into this, I think is doing a disservice to the film. It's hurting it ultimately from a viewer and enjoyment standpoint. But that's the choices they made with this film, and so be it. Again, I'm still looking at this movie poster, and I'm still just like, how perfect is that poster reflecting my feeling about the film? It's like, yeah, it's beautiful. It's a really well done mosaic of these people, but my gosh, there's so many faces crammed into this poster. Is like, yeah, that's kind of this film. That is what it's trying to do. So yeah. Anyway.
Alan, did you realize, which I didn't until, I was prepping for this review, but Wagner Moura, we've seen him before. We've actually discussed a film that he was in, and he was really good in it. He was in Civil War.
Civil War.
Yeah, and I totally didn't recognize him as being the same person, but I thought that was interesting. It's not my first time encountering. I thought it was like, oh, here's a brand new actor. I've never seen him. Like, no.
Well, and I was also reminded by my family members who were popping in and out of my home theater room while I was watching this.
Okay.
who saw him on screen and said, "Oh, that's Narcos." So he played Pablo Escobar in the Narcos TV series, which I never
Gotcha.
saw, but they were
I haven't either.
they were
but
big
okay.
fans of, and so that
Gotcha.
was another role he's known for there as well. But yeah, Civil War, I did. It took me about halfway through the film, but I did kind of piece it together. That's where I've seen him for as well. He's good. Is he the best actor in this film? No, I don't think so. I think he has honestly, I think he's got I'm not going to say this. I think he has the quote easiest role in this film, where
Interesting.
I don't think he has tons of heavy lifting to do with this performance. He plays the part well. I mean, but I don't think it's an extremely challenging part. I think so many of the other roles were much harder lifts to play. Because I mean, he's meant to just be constantly, anxious, and he's always looking over his shoulder. He's trying to investigate things about his own mother and family while also being on the run from this. He does have a son that he has a relationship with that we see some emotion from. But I mean, his role is constantly just kind of, I don't want to say it's one note. It's just more, it's a constant performance, where I think some of the other supporting roles I thought were much more interesting. But yeah.
If you had to pick, kind of wrapping up, but there's a scene that I think is a strong point of film. It comes pretty late in the film, but it's a flashback. There's a restaurant conversation. I'll say that's probably like my favorite scene of the film. Do you have one that sticks out to you, or the same?
No, that's it. That's it. Yeah, that scene I actually did go back and watch a second time, like after the film was over, because it was really good. Honestly, I thought the character playing his wife, and I don't have her name handy in front of me.
I don't know
the actress is Alice Carvalho. Was very, very good. So that was actually she was really a small part, but boy, she was effective in that scene. So anyway,
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good. Well, that is The Secret Agent. Chris, is it playing anywhere? I mean, it's not streaming anywhere, right? It's
no. And something else, through the benefit of watching this a second time, I noticed in the opening credits, it says in conjunction with Netflix, which I was like, interesting. But I'm curious, especially after it's gotten nominated, why it hasn't been released on Netflix yet? If Netflix had anything to do with it, or maybe they just gave it some money. I don't know. But as far as being released in the U.S., I think it's done a lot of festival playing, but I'm not sure it's actually come like theatrically released to theaters yet.
Well, actually, and it is available for rent or purchase on, like Apple TV, Amazon, any of those movie rental places. So you can rent it. It's not free streaming. Supposedly, it is supposed to be streaming soon on Hulu. Hulu has the streaming rights for it. Yeah.
Interesting.
That's what I'm reading anyway. If I trust the internet, that's what it's telling me.
Well, and maybe it was like, Netflix outside the U.S. gave it money, not Netflix. So like then the Hulu got the rights from it. I don't know. Distribution, always a quandary. So interesting.
Yeah. But so I think there are ways to see it right now. So for people, which is the main thing I wanted to kind of get across there. So all right. Well, that's it. That's The Secret Agent. We're going to wrap that up. Let's take a quick little break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Oscar nominations, the 2026 Oscar Academy Award nominations. And we'll talk about that, and we'll get Chris's recommendation of a film to check out. Stay tuned. You're listening to Foot Candle Films. We'll be right back.
Want to discover great podcasts or maybe even start one of your own? Welcome to The Mesh, Western North Carolina's podcast network built for creators and listeners alike. From local sports and business to comedy and culture, The Mesh is home to unique voices and fresh perspectives. Do you have something you want to say? The Mesh can help you bring your podcast to life with the tools, support, and platform you need to be heard. Check us out at themesh.tv, where great podcasts live and new ones are born.
Welcome back to Foot Candle Films here on the Mesh.tv podcast network. Alan Jackson, Chris Fry here with you. We just had our review of The Secret Agent in the first half of the show, both positive but yet challenging viewing experiences, and some misgivings about the film and the way it was, the storytelling was laid out, and the vast cast involved. But ultimately, I mean, at least for me, Chris, I came out feeling like it was still a positive experience viewing this film, and something I actually wouldn't mind going back and revisiting some. But I think you're maybe a
we're on
little
the
less
same
so,
page.
but you're pretty close. Okay.
Sure.
All right.
Yeah.
Good deal. Let's hit our Oscar nominations. These were announced on Friday, I believe, Thursday or Friday. Last Thursday. Last Thursday, the Oscar nominations came out. This is kind of our big time of the year. You know, we've been talking about predictions and kind of gearing up for what films we think we're going to get nominated and what actors and performers we're going to get recognized. And so now we actually have it laid out in front of us. We actually have an official list. There's no more guessing. There's no more predicting. Nope, this is it. So as we like to do every year when that happens, we're going to hit some of the categories, the ones I hate saying that they're the bigger categories. That feels like it diminishes everybody in every other category, but it's just the ones we've been typically been following a little bit more and a little more interested in hearing. But we'll also chime in on some thoughts about any other random categories and maybe some surprise nominations that might popped up in there as well. So let's get started, Chris. I'm just going to hit these. You and I can kind of go back and forth reading these out. Let's talk about the supporting actress performances, the nominations for that. How about if I read out the nominations for performance by an actress in a supporting role, and then I'll let you do the actor in a supporting role after that.
Sounds good.
Okay? Performance by an actress in a supporting role. We have 5 nominations as usual for this. Elle Fanning in Sentimental Value. Inga Opseder-Elias for Sentimental Value also. Amy Madigan for Weapons. Wunmi Masaku from Sinners. And Tiana Taylor from One Battle After Another. So interesting here. I think Sentimental Value had 2 supporting actors. I did not expect Elle Fanning to get one. I did expect Inga to get one. I thought she was probably
I was hoping she
pretty
would.
good.
She did,
yeah.
so, yeah.
I felt pretty confident she would get one. I was surprised Elle Fanning. I think warranted. I think it's good. It's just I was a little bit of a surprise. I didn't think she'd make it in the 5.
Agreed.
I was very, very happy to see Amy Madigan with Weapons. Unfortunately,
Me too. Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's about the only thing Weapons got, I think, nomination-wise, which is, we'll get to that a little bit later. I think a little disappointing for me, but yeah. And then One Battle After Another, definitely expected Tiana Taylor. And Wunmi Masaku from Sinners was a little bit of a surprise, but given how many nominations Sinners got in this year, it's not really a big surprise then. It's like they really packed in just about every category something.
Right.
So your thoughts on the supporting actress?
Elle Fanning was a surprise. Amy Madigan, I thought because I immediately after seeing the film, I was like, man, I want her to get Best Supporting Actress. Now, I have no delusion in my head whatsoever that she could possibly win. But I am happy that, especially because, like you mentioned, this is the sole nomination for Weapons, which saddens me, but horror always has a rough road to hoe. But Sinners did well, which is kind of cool. So,
I was going to say Sinners with a record, I think 16 nominations, which is the highest number of nominations for a single film in a year. So it's amazing, absolutely amazing. Just quick gut check. What do you think? Who wins this in this category?
That is tough.
With no reading the internet, no doing our heavy research. Yeah. We're going to do
so without doing any heavy research to try to plan anything. I would say just because, it's really tough. I'd said Weapons, no way. I don't think Sinners, no way. So I think it comes down to between either Sentimental Value or One Battle After Another, and then you have to kind of think about overall with that many nominations from Sinners and that many nominations for One Battle After Another. Does like that kind of have an avalanche effect? I have no idea.
Well, fine. I'm going to say Tiana Taylor, One Battle After Another. I think is.
Are you going with the avalanche effect with that? You feel like?
No.
You feel like
no. I just
feel like it's the strongest performance. Okay.
Well, I think it's going to be perceived as the strongest performance. It's not
you.
for me. I mean, I would. Gosh, I'd go Amy Madigan personally if it was up to me to vote, but it's not going to happen. So I think Tiana Taylor is probably I think One Battle After Another and Sinners are going to be the two films taking all the awards this year. That's just my feel on this. Okay. Let's talk performance by an actor in a supporting role. Chris, you want to take these away?
Absolutely. So we have Benicio del Toro for One Battle After Another, Jacob Elordi in Frankenstein, Delroy Lindo in Sinners, Sean Penn in One Battle After Another, and Stellan Skarsgård in Sentimental Value. Stellan Skarsgård did walk away with a Golden Globe for Sentimental Value. Alan, what is your pick on who you think may win, or what's your feelings about the nomination?
I think it's going to be Stellan Skarsgård, Sentimental Value. I think we'll win this as well. I think the One Battle After Another, I think anytime you have two actors in the same category from the same film,
cancel each other out. Yeah.
It's a little bit of that effect going on. It just that they hurt each other chances wise. Delroy Lindo in Sinners, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that was also your thinking for the actress category. You're thinking the Sentimental Value people cancel each other out there too. Yeah, okay, I got you.
Delroy Lindo, I think, was a great nomination, and I think it was a good recognition of his performance and body of work for him. But I don't think it's enough to get it a win. And I think the air has deflated a little bit on Frankenstein over the last few months since its release. I just don't think it's quite got the clout. So I'm afraid Mr. Elordi might be missing out on that. So I feel like it's Skarsgård, Sentimental Value. It's the most singular supporting performance where it's like it really kind of made the film work that he was in. So anyway.
So I don't know, audience members, if Alan is trying to make me falsely configure my ballot so that when the Oscar party comes around, he can be like, "Ha! I fooled you." Now, but like all his rationale sounds really good, so I want to be filling out my ballot for the Oscar pool, but I don't know. Alan may have something up his sleeve.
No, I very rarely, if ever, win like any of our Oscar pools. So just keep that in mind. This is all gut check stuff. I'm going to be doing a lot of research and reading, and I got to plug in my algorithms into my spreadsheets and database and do all that to really determine my final ballot that I'm going to choose. This is all just top of the mind gut stuff going on here. So. Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
All right, let's do performance by an actor in a leading role. How about let's go with that? So, if I can read, I'll read those out for us, and then let you do performance by an actress in a leading role.
Okay.
Performance by an actor in a leading role. We have Timothée Chalamet in Marty Supreme, Leonardo DiCaprio, One Battle After Another, Ethan Hawke, Blue Moon, Michael B. Jordan, Sinners, Wagner Moura for The Secret Agent. So thoughts on that, Chris? Any surprises? Anything?
So here's the thing, and this is not how anybody else sees any of these categories, but this is how in my head, which I think leads me to vote wrong sometimes. But I feel like for leading role and supporting role, there should be like a cinematic stopwatch, and you're like, okay, this is how much time this person has spent on screen, and so therefore that would determine like how good they did in a supporting role. So like, if I'm thinking about that, that's why me personally, for the actress, I would have said, well, the Inga from Sentimental Value, I'm not going to try to say her last name, but she deserves to win because even though Teyana Taylor was good and Amy Madigan is kind of my favorite, screen time for a supporting performance, she put in more screen time for her supporting performance. Does that make sense? So then if we go to actor in a leading role, the people you just read, you're like, well, all these people, since they're in a leading role, they all spend, majority of the time. Yes, but one person did doubly so, and that would be Michael B. Jordan. So he did a dual role in Sinners. If he does not win, I want to hear a thesis on why he didn't win, because he's not only doing a lot with one character, Smoke, but then he's doing equal with Stack. And I'm like, come on now, this surely degree of difficulty, everything. I feel like it's Michael B. Jordan's to lose. So what are your thoughts?
Interesting. Unfortunately, I disagree. I think Michael B. Jordan's performance is amazing, but I also could argue that I think several others in this category are amazing as well. I think this is Timothy Chalamet. I really do. I think this is what this is his time. He's still young,
He is.
but I still think he carried that movie. Any enjoyment I got from that movie, which granted it's still a grueling movie to watch, and I can't say I really enjoy it.
Sure.
But any enjoyment I did derive was mainly from his performance. So I think he just really made that film work. I could argue the same thing with Ethan Hawke for Blue Moon. It's just not a movie that I liked as much. And I felt his performance was a little more of his performance felt a little more of an imitation than it did an actual performance. And that was my only hesitancy with that.
Happy to see him get nominated though, because Ethan Hawke nominated. I don't know if he's ever gotten a nomination. Maybe he's gotten a nomination before, but I'm not sure.
He did for Training Day. He got a.
Oh, that's right. Him and Denzel Washington both were nominated. Okay. So, but like, I like Ethan Hawke a lot as an actor, so it's cool. But yeah, I would my sentiments kind of lie along the same lines as far as that. So, okay.
Yeah. And I think, unfortunately, Leonardo DiCaprio, one battle after another, he's really good in it, and it's a good performance. It's not one of his best performances, and I think the movie rises in its esteem outside of his performance. Like his performance, I don't think makes that film as good as it is. It's a nice element to the film, but I don't think it is the driving force of that film. Where Marty Supreme, it's pretty much Chalamet. It's like if it wasn't him driving it, it's a completely different movie. So, and
if Michael B. Jordan was just doing one role in Sinners and not doing a dual role, I would probably get behind Timothy Chalamet. And
I think your dual role theory is a good one. And look, it's very possible, and with as many nominations, one of two things is going to happen with Sinners, unfortunately. Either Sinners is going to steamroll awards and be like, just going to win all of them, or it's not going to win any of them, or maybe just one or two more technical awards, and it will be seen as kind of a, wow, this film got so many nominations, but ultimately it almost like watered down itself by being spread out across all the nominations that it just didn't pull the weight on any of them. So.
And selfishly, I think I can't remember if you shared on mic last time, or it was just background conversation that we had for the previous podcast recording, but you talked about how Ryan Coogler has like a lot of rights with this film, like retained a lot of rights, and the cast retained a lot of rights, so much so that when they will see more returns from this film in the future, because of how they worked out the contract and everything. So selfishly, I kind of want it to get all the acclaim it can, because I want to see like director and actors get more acclaim as opposed to just a studio. So that,
I look, I'm trying to say what I think is going to win, not necessarily what I want to win.
Absolutely.
And I think, I'd love to see Sinners rack. It'd be awesome to see them take 16 awards home and be like, hey, look, we swept them. We did it. Because I think that says a lot about the film industry and opportunities out there and the types of films that can be recognized, because Sinners is it's not a traditional Academy Award winning nominated film. And I mean, it's a vampire movie set back in the old South, and it's got blood and gore and sex. And, it's not your typical award winning fare. So to see it do really well would be awesome, to know that we could be a little more open to the types of films we recognize. So anyway,
sure.
Love it. All right. Performance by an actress in a leading role. Chris, you want to take these away?
Sure. We have Jessie Buckley in Hamnet, Rose Byrne for If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, Kate Hudson for Song Sung Blue, Renee Rinsva for Sentimental Value, and Emma Stone for Begonia. Alan, thoughts on the nominees for this category?
I mean, we can just go ahead and skip right through it. I mean, Jessie Buckley, Hamnet, done. Moving on.
Sure. Go ahead.
That's it. That's all I got. What do you got?
No, I feel like of those nominees, I feel like it's her. There could be, but I kind of doubt it would be very much a dark horse for Renee Rinsva to win it for Sentimental Value, but I don't think so. I was surprised to see Kate Hudson get nominated for Song Sung Blue, but I was happy because I do like her in that film. I think
Yeah.
she's very good. Also surprised just because I didn't really care for the movie that much as we reviewed it here on the show, but I realized Emma Stone, she's won for Poor Thing. She was in A Favorite. She's in La La Land. Like, so maybe she's going to become the new Glenn Close. Or Meryl Streep, that she gets nominated. It's like, if she's in a movie, she's going to get nominated. And I'm not saying she did a bad job. It just surprises me here at the year end that she gets noticed for the role. But, it's not that she did a bad job. It's just, I would think the movie itself would kind of fade into the background.
I think I know your thoughts on the film. I like the film better than you did, but I think we both agree it's a relatively slight film, Begonia. I mean, it's not one you would think of being Academy Award nominated film in any regard. No. I thought it was a good film, a fun film, but it was also one I would say is a very small movie in the filmography of this guy. So,
sure,
to see Emma Stone nominated for Best Actress in it, it was a little surprising, but I'm not terribly shocked because I agree. I think Emma Stone's just going to be kind of locked in on this is what she does, and she does heavily revered films and does really good performances in them. So yes, she's on the Meryl Streep path. Yep, she's just going to get. If she's in a film, chances are she'll probably get some sort of nomination for it. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. But do you agree? Is it Jessie Buckley, Hamnet?
I'd be surprised if it wasn't Jessie Buckley, and I do think her performance is really great in the film. So I think she's probably a lock.
That is one that I'm going to be very in agreement on for sure. I mean, every other nomination and award, I'm probably could take some umbrage with, but no, Jessie Buckley and Hamnet. That is, if that doesn't win, I'm actually going to be shocked and a little upset. So.
I think the outsider pick, even more so than Begonia, I guess, because I don't feel like a lot of folks have seen it. If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. Rose Byrne's performance in that film is really intense. It's probably some of the most, like, one of her greatest performances that I've seen. I mean, I haven't seen all her work, but definitely when you watch it, you're like, yes, I can't imagine someone else doing this role. But that is a much smaller budget film that it's good to see that get some recognition. So.
Yeah. Okay. All right, let's talk about directing. I'll read out the achievement in directing nominations. This is obviously for Best Director of a Film. We have Chloe Zhao for Hamnet, Josh Safdie for Marty Supreme, Paul Thomas Anderson for One Battle After Another, Joachim Trier for Sentimental Value, and Ryan Coogler for Sinners. Honestly, Chris, I think this is probably the hardest category for me to pick.
Seriously narrow it down between two? Or no, you still think it's wide open?
I think it's wide open.
Really? Okay.
I really do. Yeah. I if you had asked me a month ago, I would have said maybe Paul Thomas Anderson, One Battle After Another was probably the favorite. But now, if Sinners got as many nominations as it did, but if it only walked away with a couple of awards, I could see it being Best Director for Ryan Coogler as one of those awards it wins.
Sure.
I could still see Paul Thomas Anderson winning.
But he did win the Golden Globe, right?
Yes,
Paul Thomas Anderson did. Yeah. Okay.
And honestly, I could see Chloe Zhao and Josh Safdie both pulling upsets and either one of those two winning as well. So honestly, I think there's four of them that could win. And the only one I don't think will win is Joachim Trier, Sentimental Value. I just don't think I don't think that will make the cut at the end. Okay. So I'm really up on this. I guess I'll say Paul Thomas Anderson, One Battle After Another. Still, like, if you told me right now to pick one, I'd say that would be it. But I don't know. I think Ryan Coogler for Sinners could be the recognition to him of this overall feat of making that movie happen. So.
Well, and I agree. I think maybe the one thing that would make me switch to One Battle After Another is kind of which Anderson would have as an edge over Coogler. Both outstanding directors, both made really good films. But maybe voters would be like body of work and go for Paul Thomas Anderson just because of the number of films he's made. And like, they'd be like, okay, but in that might give him just the slightest bit of an edge, maybe. but
maybe.
it is.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, I think honestly that's the one I'm the most curious to see where it goes because
Sure.
yeah, very, very curious. All right, and then let's talk Best Picture. We have how many? We have 10.
We've got 10
nominations. Yeah, go ahead and read them out first, Chris. What are the Best Picture nominations?
So we have Begonia, F1, Frankenstein, Hamnet, Marty Supreme, One Battle After Another, The Secret Agent, Sentimental Value, Sinners, and Train Dreams. So lots of people in there. I guess you'd say probably the favorites are going to be One Battle After Another or Sinners. I would think for the top two in that category.
That's what I would say. Hamnet being maybe a third place potential, and then Marty Supreme. I'd say.
Okay.
I think honestly, those four are the only four that have any chance of it. And honestly, I think it's more likely, like you said, I think it's either One Battle After Another or Sinners.
Happy to see Train Dreams get noticed because I liked that film. Little surprised, but I think it's a money thing. F1, but also surprised Begonia. But then we talked about why that probably got.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Begonia was the big surprise for me. I mean, just not surprise. It's just more. That's the one that doesn't fit with the others for me because it is such a smaller niche film that, I liked quite a bit and I think it's good. Just I didn't know if it fit in this category. F1, I get it. Look, Best Picture has to be a complete production. And you got to think about it from a technical production standpoint. I mean, F1 was kind of a feat. Granted, it's not going to win any writing awards. It's not going to win any acting awards. Okay.
Right.
But as a complete picture movie with all the technical aspects to it and the production design and the sound editing and everything else involved. Yeah, it was a feat. Does it deserve to be in the top 10 films of the year? No, it's not, but I get why it's there. And, but you're right. Begonia and F1 are kind of definitely outliers. Train Dreams, nice to see it nominated, but I mean, it's not going to win. Right. The Secret Agent, I thought was an interesting selection to have up there. Again, won't win, but I think it was interesting recognition of that film.
Right.
For
especially
all the reasons
when it has,
we talked about earlier. Yeah.
It has recognition in the international feature film, but then to have it as Best Picture, but it's interesting that it was there as well. I think Frankenstein, again, 6 months ago might have been all the buzz. People thought that's where things were going to go. It just didn't pan out that way. And it's lost a lot of esteem, I think, in circles. So I really think it's One Battle After Another or Sinners with a possible dark horse of a Hamnet. And Marty Supreme would be the absolute biggest dark horse, I think. Sure. Well, Marty would have it no other way, Alan, than to be the dark horse.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that. Yeah. Yeah. Sentimental Value. I mean, look, I'd love to see that get recognized because I did love that movie, but I don't think it's got quite the pedigree around it to earn a Best Picture award. So it's definitely could do a little better in the acting, which again, I think Skarsgård will be the one to get the award for that acting wise. And I think writing, I do think we didn't talk about any of the writing nominations, but I do think, I mean, Sentimental Value is nominated for Best Original Screenplay, right?
Yes, it is. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that I could see that winning too, because it is a very well-written film. Right. But yeah, I think Best Picture, I personally think it's down those two. One Battle After Another is if the Academy is going to go more the route of we've got to rise up our most acclaimed, prestigious film for the year. Sinners is we want to recognize a really incredible feat in movie making this year. And that's the two choices they got. So, yeah. All right. So Chris, we kind of only hit, maybe a third of the categories of the nominations, but were there any other categories or surprise nominations or surprises that people weren't nominated for any other category that stood out to you wanted to call out?
Well, I mentioned, you and I both kind of said that we were happy to see Train Dreams in Best Picture. I was pleased to see it. It did kind of creep in 3 other categories. I got a nod in cinematography, which I feel like is very well earned, adapted screenplay, and original song. So I like I like that it was, noticed in other categories. I think the original song will probably go to I don't know. Actually, that could be an interesting category. There's K-pop Demon Hunters has a song there, which that movie was very popular, so I could see that taking it. Or, Sinners has a song there. So I don't know. But yeah, I was glad to see the Train Dream song because I think it follows my category of the song has to be used in the film, not just played over the credit. So the song was used at the end of the film, and it was very kind of encapsulated the whole film. So let's see. Surprise, I will say, don't think it has a chance of winning because the aforementioned K-pop Demon Hunters, I think, will probably win for animated feature film. But there's a film called Little Amelie or The Character of Rain. I watched the film in the year-end rush. I was able to watch it, and I really liked it. It was kind of surprising. I think some of the use of animation is different than what you have seen in other, more standard fare. So I was happy to see that recognized. I do not think it has a chance of winning, but you never know because Flo walked away winning stuff when that was a very small independent film. But I thought that was interesting to see that nominated. Also, one last thing that I was pleased to see, makeup and hairstyling. Usually, for the most part, you hear those films. The Ugly Stepsister was a foreign film that I'd seen there was a lot of interesting use of hair and makeup there, and I was glad to see that got nominated. Alan, I don't think the nominees are that unusual, but are you pleased to see that casting is finally a category for the Academy Awards with
Yeah. And I think, no, I'm glad casting is an award now.
Sure.
Because you think about it, it's like, you have a lead actor, you have supporting actor roles and from nomination standpoint. And sometimes, I even recognize that in those categories, if you have more than one film, the same film nominated with two different actors, I feel like that kind of hurts chances. Casting is kind of the way to equalize that a little bit. It's like saying, look, you could have a lot of really good actors in this thing, all doing really good parts, and you can't, unfortunately, give them each an award for all their great performances, or you have to kind of pick and choose which ones become nominated, or you put up a campaign to try to get them nominated. Casting is like saying, no, look, we recognize this was you put together an incredible array of characters and performers to make this film happen. So it's kind of I realize the award goes to the casting director, but it's also kind of acknowledgement of the body of actors in that work. And I think that's nice. So I'm all for it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll just, not that they're a surprise, but I'll run down the nominees since it is a new category. We had Hamnet, Mari Supreme, One Battle After Another, Secret Agent, which Alan has commented on how many different actors are in that film. And it's like, whoa, a lot of characters. All doing good work, and Sinners. So I'm interested to see who wins that category, because I think I can understand definitely with all of those nominees who win. I guess that may be a case of probably One Battle After Another or Sinners because of how the tide of the ceremony may go one way or the other with that. But glad to see casting. And correct me if I'm wrong, Alan, but stunts may be an official category next year. Is that true?
I think it was next year is that the
next year, okay,
category comes in. Yeah. Which I also think is great. I think that's something that that is a element of the filmmaking process, and especially for films that don't always get a lot of Oscar acclaim, more action, more special effect driven films. It's good to give other opportunities for those films to be recognized, and the stunts are a big factor of that. So no, I'm excited for that as well. Yeah, it'd be good. I didn't really have any big surprises. I am happy the fact that I have seen all the films that are nominated for all the bigger categories that I focus on, with the exception of I have not seen Train Dreams. So that is one I've got to catch up with. And I've not seen If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. That's my two. Which
is a very kind of, the movie is not a fun movie, so it's not a comedy way, but the title is kind of a fun title to say. So
yeah. Well, that's the two films I've missed that I will be catching up with, but that's it. Otherwise I'm on all the big by that I'm saying, look, I'm never going to be caught up on animated films or documentaries. That's not my lot in life, Chris. I'm not going to see all
Sure.
the nominated documentaries and short films and animated films. Those categories, I respect them. I can't, I have not been able to make the time to make it work to see all of them in time. So at least if I focus on the narrative features and all the categories around that, I have seen all the nominated films except for those two. And I will be rectifying that in the next week and a half. And so I like that. I like the kind of got a good view of everything. So
Sure.
Overall, I thought the nominations were good. Look, I would have liked to have seen George Clooney get a Best Actor nom because I like Jay Kelly a lot more than most people did. I thought his performance was really, really good. But it's okay. I'm hoping he was maybe like a 6th or 7th spot on the list.
Sure.
But other than that, that's the only one I could look back and say, yeah, I kind of would have liked to have seen that. But everything else kind of checked all the boxes. Okay.
So in closing out my thoughts, I will say, if we're going to mention something that I'm shocked. I am shocked that Park Chan-wook's No Other Choice was completely shut out of the Oscars. I am. Whether it would be for adapted screenplay or director, or just seems like it would have been a natural fit to stick it in international feature film. I am shocked that No Other Choice was completely shut out. Maybe, I guess it's that thing where it tends to be more of a critic favorite maybe than an audience favorite or something, but I was surprised because I really like that film from last year. So.
Yeah. Okay. Good point there. All right. Well, that is our nomination talk for the Academy Awards this year. March 15th will be the ceremony. So we will do a little bit of a recap after the ceremony on what won and what were surprises or not, and how we did on our own personal ballots. Because, Chris, I will be forming my ballot.
Okay.
My official one. Nothing I said on this podcast in the last half hour should be taken as any indication of what my vote will actually be for the ballot.
Gotcha.
I've got a lot of
so I
research
can't cheat
to do.
then. Okay, fair enough.
No, I got a lot of research to do still. I have a lot of in-depth investigative work to do. I've got my master spreadsheets I've got to start plugging in with all the calculations that I use for predictions. And granted, they'll be completely wrong because I will still not do very well with it, but I got to keep tradition going. So
Sure.
But we'll talk after the 15th and see how the actual award ceremony went. So, all right. So, Chris, with that, we're getting close to the end of the show. Last thing we've got to do is you've got to give us a recommendation of a film you think we ought to be checking out. So what do you have to share with us today?
So I'm going to recommend another 2025 film. We're kind of closing out 2025. So this one was released in 2025. Didn't make a huge splash, but kind of surprising because there was a good cast involved and a director that I guess is still not top of mind for most people. But it is A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey, starring Colin Farrell and Margot Robbie, and directed by Kogonada. The story is Sarah and David, played by Colin Farrell, Margot Robbie, are single strangers who meet at a mutual friend's wedding and soon, through a surprise twist of fate, find themselves on a funny, fantastical, sweeping adventure together where they get to relive important moments from their respective pasts, illuminating how they got to where they are in the present and possibly getting a chance to alter their futures. I think one reason that the film kind of came and went in theaters, it is a big, bold, beautiful journey. Has a lot of fantastical elements that not realistic at all. You just have to kind of say, okay, this is a film. This is not real world. You have to be willing to go on the journey that the film wants you to go on. And if you're not, then yeah, it's not for you. But it really worked for me. And Kogonada is a very talented visual stylist with the way he stylizes films. Probably this is one of his more commercial ventures. He's made Columbus, he did After Yang, and this is much more like accessible and maybe for some people too kind of frivolous to be worth it. But there's a quote from later in the film that really cemented, like, I like the things it was saying about life, but then wasn't too heavy-handed or too like downtrodden about like too depressing or whatever. It's always kept it in a realm that I could enjoy. And the quote is, "You can make yourself crazy trying to be happy. Be content first. choose to be content and enjoy the moments of happiness that come from that. And I was like, when I heard that, I was like, okay, that's awesome. And after I finished the film, I made a point to write that quote down because I think it's great. So it is a big, bold, beautiful journey. It is streaming on Netflix currently. It's new to Netflix, actually. So that's my recommendation for this episode.
I'm very curious to see this film. I was disappointed to hear kind of some of the, not really backlash, but just indifference to the film when it came out. And I think people just not working for a lot of people as much. And it may just be people that had not seen another film by this director, and just knowing this, it's Colin Farrell, it's Margot Robbie, it's going to be a, much bigger, more expected film. And I was disappointed that there was a lot of it wasn't negativity, just indifference to the film. So I'm happy to hear you say that, no, it's actually worth a watch and there's something there to see. So that's good.
Yeah. I think maybe it was too rose tinted glasses for some folks, but when I was watching it, I kind of needed a little bit of an uplift. So that was an advantage for me when I was watching it. So I'd say it's worth checking out.
Good. Okay, well, great. And that's all on Netflix, you say, right now. So
yes, as well as rentable other places, but
sure.
Free streaming on Netflix. Yeah.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you for the recommendation. We had our review of The Secret Agent today. We had our discussion of the Oscar nominations and Chris's recommendation of
A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey.
A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey. Great.
That's it.
I was very happy that none of the films we talked about today, Chris, had colons in the title.
True.
I mean, really, think about it. That I think we were running several weeks in a row with colons in titles, and we have no colons in this week's titles that we discussed. So that was good. That's forward progress as in the film industry.
Sure.
Happy to hear. All right. So Chris, if anybody did have some feedback for us, any other thoughts to share with us about anything we discussed, how can they go about getting a hold of us?
You can send an email to info@footcandle.org. You can leave us a voicemail. Leave us a voicemail via the contact page on the mesh.tv website. You can follow us on Facebook at Foot Candle Film Society, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, Twitter at Foot Candle Film. Al and I are also on Letterboxd, where we attempt to track what we're seeing, leave quick takes when we can. Do us a favor. If you like the show, consider giving us a star rating, write a review, share with friends, whatever service you receive your favorite podcasts on, because it'll help us reach new listeners, and we'd appreciate that.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening. We'll look forward to talking to you next time we get together here on Foot Candle Films. Until then, take care. We'll see you soon.
See you in the ticket line.
Watch films in the company of like-minded people in the dark. Watch films in the underground. We won't let anyone know where you are. The films that don't make it to Carmike at the mall, or ones that were famous when Grandpa would watch films out of the reverence of the heritage of an art. Watch films through the courtesy of Foot Candle Film Society.
Special thanks to Carpal Tuller for the show theme music. For more about Carpal Tuller, visit www.carpaltuller.com. You've been listening to The Mesh, an online media network of shows and programs ranging from business to arts, sports to entertainment, music to community. All programs are available on the website as well as through iTunes and YouTube. Check us out online at themesh.tv. Discover other network shows and give us feedback on what you just heard.